Yo, what is going on, guys? I am so excited to be making this video for two reasons. Reason number one, this guy is Canadian. His suit looks so cool. I am just so excited to have more Canadians in the game, some Canadian representation. Number two, he sounds so dope, man. This guy sounds insane. I'm a really big fan of the way he sounds, and just, he's not going to be that next Corvus champion or Hitmonkey. He's going to be that next, just like, super tanky, crazy block, crazy defensive abilities on offense, while still having some decent damage output, it sounds like. So it sounds like he's got some cool stuff. He sounds like a real tank. So let's start talking about him. So Guardian's mechanics. Guardian uses his force field to increase his defense and absorb his opponent's special attack. He can release his built-up force field energy on his opponents with his electromagnetic beams. So his prestige as a 6-star is looking pretty good. 13,670 at rank 3. It's pretty good. It's a 5-star, 10,630. That's also pretty good. So prestige looks nice. He's tech, which is good. First tech champion of the year. Get some more tech representation in here after having like 6 mystics. So I really glad to see a new tech. His basic abilities are force field, armor up, perfect block, taunt, strengths, armor, and resistances. Besides granting Guardian increased armor rating, his armor up buff will provide him with bleed, energy, and critical damage resistance. This makes him an extremely durable champion. Oh yeah. Perfect blocking. Special attacks. Guardians benefits from blocking his opponent's special attacks, while time blocks allow him to gain perfect block chance and additional power. Some weaknesses we've got here: armor break and nullify. Guardian's armor up is the key to his success. It provides him with all his defensive capabilities. By removing it, Guardian becomes extremely vulnerable for a window of time. True Strike and unblockable specials. Guardian's auto block can block an entire special attack, but the unblockable or True Strike but with a blockable True Strike, his opponent can ignore his defensive abilities entirely. So, as far as weaknesses go, those aren't really too bad. You're just not going to want to bring them into certain Mystic matchups that have Nullify, that sort of thing. So, abilities, the following stats and abilities are based on a rank 5, level 65 5-star champion. So, passive. Guardian can't land critical hits naturally. I love that. Dude, this guy sounds like a flow counter already. It's great ability to have as long as you can get in damage in another way, and he can. However, every time he would have landed a critical hit, he deals a burst of shock damage. This ability scales with critical damage rating. So that is great, man. That is really good. He doesn't crit, but he deals damage for those crits through shock damage. So against shock immune opponents, this ability won't work. Presumably, but I really like that. It sounds like a good counter to flow, so that is great. It's really good utility to have a champion that cannot crit but can still do good damage. It's good to see more champions like that in the game. Guardian can trigger the Parry Master against non-contact attacks. That is a great ability to have built in. Basically what that means is that, when Iron Man Infinity War is coming at you and you parry him, normally you don't stun him, but with an ability like this, you should be able to. Same for like Havoc. So if you're not the best at the reparry method, and sometimes the reparry method just they just throw heavy attacks and they don't really play into you. They don't throw that light attack for you to parry against certain matchups like Ebony Moss. So having the ability to parry non-contact attacks is just a really nice piece of utility to have in a kit. We got while Guardian's ability accuracy is below 100%. For 3+ seconds, he inflicts a shock debuff, dealing 345 energy damage per second. This ability scales with base attack only and cannot be affected by ability accuracy. So this sounds interesting. I'm wondering if this could be good against Domino. I don't know if you could have that 3 seconds uptime because he's immune to unlucky because he's tech. But with the critical failures, I wonder if this could work there, or I don't know, maybe there's some other areas where this could work. Let me know if you guys thought of any other areas where this could be pretty useful, but I'm sure there are going to be some uses for it. Then we got armor up. Start a fight with an indefinite armor up buff, increasing armor rating by 2100. That's a pretty chunky armor up buff. That's really nice to see. If this buff is removed for any reason, it will return after 14 seconds. I love abilities like that, like Warlock and Guillotine. They have those armor ups. It's It's really great for tech champions to have these because, that counters havoc, and just having an armor up buff just helps you take less damage and stuff, so that's great. Force Field. Force Field charges last indefinitely up to 3 charges. Any additional Force Field charges last for 16 seconds. So gain 1 Force Field charge every 12 seconds. So just passively, for every 12 seconds, you're going to gain one of these. There's additional ways to gain them through your special attacks, Special 1 and Special 3, but we'll get to that. But yeah, they'll just passively gain. You don't even have to do anything to get them, so that's nice. So while Guardian has an armor up, well-timed blocks against special attacks, so parries, grant 100% perfect block chance over 0.5 seconds. Each perfect block grants 6% of a bar of power. This is really interesting, man. I really, really like this. I love perfect block, especially on special attacks, and you can actually gain power from this, kind of like how Ghost can gain power while phasing. So this is very interesting, man. I could see this being so useful against War Machine, for example. You parry the first bullet of his Special 1, and then you perfect block it all. You gain a bunch of power for each one of those little bullets. That is just such a great ability to have. The only thing is you gotta parry the first part of it to get the perfect block, similar to how Sunspot has that perfect block. So that's really cool. But Sunspot, you have to have Incinerates on the opponent. With Guardian here, all you have to have is your armor up buff active, which shouldn't be too difficult. And there's a faster way to get it back, which we'll talk about with the heavy attack. So while Guardian has an armor up buff, gain a 15% chance per force field charge to auto block the opponent's special attack, gain a flat 15% chance against mutants. This auto block is considered a well-timed block and can reach a 75% chance max. So this is pretty unique. So like I said, you got 3 of those force field charges can last indefinitely, so you can have 3 of them permanently. So each one of those can give you 15%, so 45% if you just have 3, and that's a chance to auto block, which those count as well-timed blocks, so that'll count towards perfect block. So that's really unique. If you are evading a typical special and you slip up, you get hit by a part, then you could just get an auto block to save you. So this is a great ability to have. I can see that being extremely useful. That's pretty cool. That is pretty cool. And right here, consume 1 force field charges to block unblockable special attacks against mutants. Only against mutants, but that could be useful. Maybe against a Havoc or something. If you slip up on his special 2, which goes unblockable, it could save you. You never know. And we've got a developer note here. While Guardian has an armor up buff effect, he's able to mitigate special attack damage with well-timed block. When facing a Guardian, watch out for armor up effects added through quest buff, since these will count towards some of his abilities. So ending a combo with a light attack. I love when champions have this ability. So or an ability similar. So consume 2 force field charges, inflicting a power drain, removing 20% of the opponent's current power. That is awesome. It's just really, really good for a champion to have some sort of power drain mechanic built into their kit. Maybe they're not a super power controller like Magic or Vision, but just to have an ability like this, if you need it, is really good. That's why I used to love Stark Spidey so much, because on his heavy attack, you could power drain, and that saved me in so many situations. And I really like this one. It's just ending a combo with a light attack. So, normally you end a combo with a medium. So, as long as you're used to doing that, you shouldn't really slip up with this, and you can save it for when you really need to use it. If your opponent gets to a special 3 or something, that is really good, man. Really, really like just having this built in to a base kit. That's awesome. So the developer note here, Guardian's power drain only buys him time to bait out special 2 attacks when he's in danger of a special 3 attack. His ability does not allow Guardian to control his opponent's power to the degree that other power control champions can. That's true. It's just good to have it, just as a safety net. So I'm really happy to see that. Then on the heavy attacks here, this is what I was talking about with the armor buff. So the first hit consumes 1 force field charge to gain an armor up buff, increasing armor rating by 2100 for 15 seconds. So I wonder if you can stack multiple armor up buffs. I feel like you could. Could be interesting. But yeah, if you get rid of your armor buff through the special 2, this is just a quick quick way to get it back. So developer note here, in order to retain Guardian's defensive abilities after using special 2 attack, Guardian can gain an additional armor up with his heavy attack, which is consumed by the special 2 attack. So talk about a special attack. So special 1 here, we got Supersonic Charge. After activation, gain 3 force field charges. So this is a way to gain some of those force field charges really quick instead of waiting, I think it's like 36 seconds to get 3 of them passively. Every 12 seconds. So it'll take 30 seconds to get to those 3. So it's a quick way to just get 3 of them. And like you can stack more than 3. It's just after 3, they won't be permanent. You know, they'll only last for 16 seconds. The last hit inflicts a taunt debuff lasting for 6 seconds. Opponents that are taunted have their attack rating reduced by 40% and have a 70% chance to activate special attack. Developer's note, Guardian special attack 1 is the fastest way to gain force field charges. It also allows Guardian to taunt the opponent briefly for an easier time dealing with the power meter. Electromagnetic Beam on special 2. So this is how you get your big damage off. So the first hit consumes all force field charges, increasing attack rating by 2,800 for each force field charge for the duration of the special attack. If Guardian has 3 plus force field charges, consume 1 armor buff, inflicting a shock debuff, dealing 5,700 energy damage over 3 seconds. This attack cannot be evaded by mutant champions. Developer note, this is Guardian's big burst of damage. Try and get as many force field charges before blowing up the opponent with this ability. Be careful after using this ability. If you consume your only armor up buff, you won't be able to perfect block or auto block special attacks until it returns. So this sounds like a pretty solid special 2. And remember that for every part that doesn't crit, you know, when it would crit, you're going to be dealing more shock damage from the ability that he doesn't crit with. So Guardian can't land crits naturally. However, whenever he will land a crit, he deals a burst of shock damage. So that could be pretty crazy with the special 2, man. As long as your opponent isn't shock immune, you could get off some really beefy special 2s. That sounds pretty sick. And I think the way to go for medium to longer fights is to start with a special 3 here. So on activation, gain 6 indefinite force field charges, 6 of them, and they're not going to go away. So gain those 6, and then you utilize that with this. So each one of those is going to increase your attack by 2,800. So 2,800 times 6. That's going to be like 17,000 attack or something like that. Just doing the math, mental math. That's an insane attack rating. So that sounds pretty crazy. And then with the special 3, inflict a shock debuff. Do some damage over time. You know, just have a debuff on your opponent maybe if you need that. And then developers note here, the special 3 attack is the most reliable way to gain force field charges. Since all charges are indefinite, it allows Guardians to stack tons of charges for an even bigger burst of damage. This paired with the special 2, man, sounds like some pretty nutty damage. Sounds awesome. And then the signature ability. This signature ability is nuts. So while Guardian has an armor up effect, gain the following effects: 2,500 block proficiency, 8,300 energy resistance, 79, basically 80% bleed resistance, and 300 critical damage resistance. That's an insane signature ability. So first of all, his block proficiency is just going to be ridiculous, and this is while he has this armor up effect. While he has that armor up effect, that's going to help his block even more. So all that paired together, this block is going to be solid. And then pair that with his perfect block on special attacks. Oh my god. And then we got energy resistance here. That's a lot of energy resistance, which sounds pretty crazy. And there's a developer note where this could be paired with some interesting things. We'll talk about that. 80% bleed resistance. Omega Red has 90% bleed resistance, so he's almost on that Omega Red level of bleed resistance. So if you're running Suicides, you're actually going to be healing from that bleed debuff. And you can pair this up with the Coagulate Mastery to get it, I'm not sure, you can get it at least to 90%. I think you can maybe even get it higher. So that's crazy. And critical damage resistance, that's interesting. If you slip up, the opponent won't crit you as hard. So developer note here, weapon Alpha provides protection against a wide range of quest buffs, masteries, and champions, making Guardian a good choice in fights with some damaging debuffs or higher attack rating. So one thing I really want to talk about here in his recommended masteries here. So Guardian's signature ability, Weapon Alpha, allows him to resist a large portion of bleed damage inflicted by the Double Edge, which is the bleed portion of the Suicide Masteries. So, running Suicides with this guy, you're going to heal from that bleed, kind of like how Corvus does. You save your power to a special 3, drop that, get 6 of those indefinite things, go to your special 2, and just nuke the opponent. With Suicides, you're going to have more damage, you're going to have recoil, so your specials are going to hit harder. Oh man, it sounds like a pretty good cycle. And then Willpower here, this is really unique. I wasn't thinking about it this way, so listen to this. Guardian's high bleed and energy resistance with Weapon Alpha allows him to heal more damage than he's taking from some Shock, Incinerate, and Bleed debuffs. I was thinking Bleed, but I wasn't thinking Shock and Incinerate. So I know that Shock and Incinerate count as energy damage, but I didn't know that energy resistance actually lowers them from debuffs. I didn't know that. That's extremely interesting. I'm still a bit skeptical on that actually until I actually see it, but that sounds crazy. So you can, with that much energy resistance, man, that is a really high he could be reducing the damage from Shock and Incinerate by so much. And I think Cold Snap is also energy damage, because Captain Marvel gains binary charges from that. So maybe that too. So it sounds pretty crazy, man. With Willpower, he sounds like he has quite a few immunities, if that works the way it's being insinuated here. So that sounds crazy. And then we got a Shock Bug here. I actually didn't read this yet. What is this? While Guardian's ability action is lowered, he inflicts a shock on the opponent's ability. Is intended to work with any ability action reduction, but due to technical limitations, only works on ability accuracy reductions to all passive. No, sorry, not passive. To all abilities like Concussion, Archangels, Increased Toxicity, or Domino's Unlucky passive. But he's immune to Unlucky, isn't he? Because he's tech. Currently, this shock does not work on ability action reduction that lowers specific abilities such as Slow or Mephisto Soul Imprisonment. Expect to see a fix to this coming in 28.0. Okay. But now we got some synergies. And one synergy, the first one here, sounds insane. This is like a Heimdall, Nick Fury level of synergy right here. So you just have to have Guardian on your team, and he should give this to everyone. And so it's called the True Northern Defense. Love the name. All champions except Guardian gain 1,000 block proficiency. That is awesome. That is such a good synergy, man. That is such a good synergy. That's going to help so many characters like Nebula with her shocks, Her block proficiency sucks. It's going to help champs like Wasp. Man, that's such a good synergy to have. Just have them on the team and you gain block. That is really, really good. Really big fan of that synergy, man. That is awesome. As far as the other synergies go, we got a really cool one with a Sasquatch here. Guardian's well-timed blocks inflict a shock debuff, dealing 50% of attack rating as energy damage. That sounds pretty nice. We got On Guard for Thee. That's from the Canadian National Anthem. Little shout out to that. We got Wolverine, Sabretooth, Squirrel Girl, Deadpool, all champions except Guardian. The first 3 blocks have 100% chance to be perfect blocks. So that's interesting. Guarantee perfect blocks. Yeah. We got one with Mole Man here. Guardian, each time Guardian would gain a force field charge, he has no force field charges, gain 1 charge. That one reads a bit weird, but it sounds like instead of just gaining 1, you'd gain 2 if you have 0. So, yeah, I think. And then Mole Man, when blocking a hit to gain a stop, will do not consume monster mass. That's actually pretty good for Mole Man, but Mole Man still kind of sucks. So, yeah. Then we got some friends and teammate synergies to gain some armor rating and its perfect block chance. So, yeah, overall, man, I think the champion is looking really good. Really good. He's got a lot of defensive utility here. Sounds like a tank and some pretty crazy damage capability if it's going to work the way I think it is. The only thing that I'm slightly worried about is his base stats. I hope they're not bad, because if his base stats are like average, then with all this block efficiency and everything, he's going to have some of the best block in the game for sure. But if his base stats are really low, then this might only bring him to like an above average level. So yeah, very interested to see the base stats, but I have really high hopes for this character. I really like the utility. Sounds really cool. He's Canadian. He looks cool. So yeah, I think I'm going to have to get this champion. by pretty much any means necessary. So what I mean by that is we're probably going to buy some early access crystals if that's a thing. With my luck, maybe I'll pull a 6-star. But if we don't get him out of there, I think it's time to go for an arena run for this guy because he seems pretty cool. And he's Canadian and haven't done a big arena grind in a while. So yeah, let me know what you guys think of this champion. Haven't read Sasquatch's abilities yet. We're gonna go jump into that next. That'll be the next video, drop in a bit after this one. I like to familiarize myself with the abilities first, and then make the video, so kind of already have an idea what I'm talking about. But yeah, I'm really hyped for this character. I'm really interested to hear your guys' thoughts on him. Let me know if you think he looks pretty cool, because I think so. But if you enjoyed this breakdown, drop a like, subscribe if you'd like to see more content. Thanks so much for watching. Peace out.